Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. This is your host, Linda Joy, publisher of Aspire Magazine, the premier inspirational magazine for women celebrating 10 years. I'm also the 6-time best-selling publisher behind the boutique publishing company, InspiredLivingPublishing.com, which is dedicated to giving visionary female entrepreneurs, coaches, and health practitioners a voice and a high-profile media and publishing platform to share their wisdom, enhance their expert status, and bring their brand out of the shadows as a published author. All my brands, including the show, are dedicated to inspiring women to live their best lives. So today we're talking about one of my favorite topics, living your extraordinary life. You know what I mean, the one that fills you with meaning, purpose, and joy. And at one time or another, each of us, including me, has felt as if we're floundering or as if we're on the wrong path and can't clearly see how to get on the right path, even though we know it's there. You know the path, the one that leads us to our dreams, to the life that we really envision for ourselves? Well, I promise you, your meaningful and purposeful life is just on the other side of whatever it is that's holding you back. And that's what we're going to be talking about today with my special guest, Pamela Henry. Pamela is a true Renaissance woman. I first met her on Facebook because her soul-inspiring poems and graphics touched my soul, and I'm so excited to have her here today. Pamela of PamelaHenry.com is a certified life coach, best-selling author, inspirational writer, and singer-songwriter. She works with women who feel like their best years are behind them and helps them to get clear on what they really want and finally make their dreams happen. In 2010, Pamela found herself facing that same midlife feeling that I was just talking about, feeling as if life was passing her by. And although she had a long list of accomplishments, inside she still felt unfulfilled. She knew she had a greater purpose, but felt, we all heard this story before, I feel too old to pursue anything meaningful at this point in my life. But in spite of these feelings, she knew there had to be a better way. So what began as a personal mission to reclaim her own dreams quickly became a passion to learn as much as she could to help others do the same. And today, I'm excited to say that through her Discover Your True Self and Shine coaching program and her writing practices, Pamela helps her clients simplify the process of setting powerful intentions and create their extraordinary life. Hey, beautiful. Welcome, Pamela.
Thank you, Linda. I'm so excited to be here today.
Well, I am honored to share space with you. You know, I know you personally because of our journey together, and Pamela shared one of her sacred soul stories in one of Inspired Living Publishing's books, best-selling books called Inspiration for Women's Soul Cultivating Joy. So I got to know you more intimately through that story. And, of course, we know you have another story coming out in one of our other books, Opening to Gratitude and Grace, in August. And through that process, I got to know you woman to woman. Does that make sense? We got to know so much about each other, and your story, your journey, the truth in which you share, your journey, is really an inspiration to me. So I'm so happy that you're here to talk about it, because how many other women are listening right now that might be having those same struggles? So why don't we start with, when did you start feeling as if you were off on the wrong path? And I don't like that word wrong. The path that wasn't as fulfilling to you as you envisioned.
Absolutely. And before I get into that, I just wanted to tell the listeners that as I was preparing for today, I spent time really looking at my journey. And it's not only the cosmic 2x4 moments, like you call them, but the smaller, quieter turning points that moved me along. So in 2010, when it really was that 2x4, there were probably 15 years leading up to that where Spirit was continually redirecting me. And so I was looking at the choices and decisions that I made that had altered my path, the times I listened to Spirit, the times I didn't, and even before I knew what any of that meant. So I want to encourage everyone that's listening to spend some time revisiting their story. As they listen to mine, as you listen to mine, think about your own life and the choices you've made on your journey that have contributed to where you are now. Because that, to me, is profound and beautiful and really deserves recognition. Because when you know where you've come from, you now have an opportunity to get clear on what it is that you would like to experience next.
Thank you for starting us with that, because it's such an important tip so that they can pull all the juiciness out of your story and mirror it in their own path.
Yes, and the other piece of that too, Linda, absolutely, is that sometimes we look back at our own stories and we don't see them as that powerful. We may see them as mundane or whatever it is, however we feel about them, but they are so powerful because the clues to our greatness are always there. And so that's what I like to share as I go into this, because I always felt that about my own story until I really started to put the pieces together. So I spent the first 20 years of my career working as a vocalist, mostly jazz, and it seemed that I was exactly where I needed to be. Since I was a young child, I always loved singing. I always loved creating, writing, that type of creativity. So I was doing that. I was going along. Mid-90s arrived, and I really started to feel a need for a change. I didn't want to continue gigging, hauling gear, and being on the road as I looked to the future. So at that point, I made a decision to go and study interactive media, which was also a really great fit for me because I was already doing some photography gigs and I also had the music background. So it really was aligned with my talents and what I love to do. And from there, I started freelancing as a graphic designer and eventually landed in a web-based application development startup, say that 3 times, managing the design team. And that was around 2000. And that was really when I began to have an inkling that there was more. I was doing what I thought I should be doing, but the long hours and stressful environment weren't working for me. I stuck with it, though, because in retrospect, as we do, we stick with things because, right, we think that's where we're supposed to be, denying our inner voice. So I went along because I didn't have the confidence to go out and find something different. Not only that, I always saw value in others. I saw their greatness. I saw their talents, their abilities, their gifts. I always saw them greater than my own and never felt like I really measured up. That somehow something was really missing, that special something, whatever that was, within me where I would feel like I was more a peer than somebody who was kind of following behind and not quite as good as everybody else. So it's no surprise around that time that I discovered Donna Eden and her classic book, Energy Medicine, which I remember I was so excited and to find that book. I'd never heard of energy healing before. And although I was really intrigued, I wasn't ready yet for the message. It was really too new for me even at that point. Too woo-woo is the word that comes to mind. And that book sat on my shelf for years, and it would be 10 years before I finally read it.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was, so that energy was around me, but I never connected to it. I wasn't ready for it. And I think that's something that many of us relate to. That kind of information pops up. It plants that seed. It's in your mind. But until you're ready to actually acknowledge it, it doesn't fully manifest self. So during the next 10 years, I was constantly being redirected by spirit. My job in web dev ended within a couple of years when the industry crashed. I learned how to trade foreign exchange, which was fun for a while, but not aligned with who I am. I tried to find myself and my ideal job through temp positions, ending up in the marketing department of a wine company, which was really fun. But again, when 2008 hit, my position was eliminated, and once again, I found myself searching. So I wanted to throw that out there because I know there are so many women who have been searching and have been spending so many years being redirected and being distracted by all kinds of things that we think we should be doing. So this was kind of me looking at those 10 years and saying, holy mackerel, I did a lot of stuff. What's that all about? And it all started to come to fruition after the 2008 experience leading up to 2010, because at that point, I really didn't know what to do. I started a consultancy in the wine industry with a former colleague, which didn't resonate with me anymore. And then I got into affiliate marketing because by this point, I didn't feel very good about myself at all, had no idea where I was going. I could sit at home, create websites, create avatars. And can you imagine, perfect situation, right? Sit at home behind your computer every day for hours pretending not to be you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a story that we're going to go dive into more when we come back from commercial break, because I think a lot of women are doing that, Pamela. They're hiding, they're playing small. And we'll be back in a moment with my special guest, Pamela Henry of PamelaHenry.com.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Experience a homecoming to your heart. In the foreword of Dr. Deborah Rebel's new book, Being Love, How Loving Yourself Creates Ripples of Transformation in Your Relationships and the World, Marcy Shimoff shares, the answer to our inner longing isn't finding love, it's being love. The practices that Dr. Deborah presents in Being Love are keys to opening your heart and receiving your divine birthright as a physical manifestation of love. Her techniques, developed over years of successful private practice with her clients and from her extensive training in multiple disciplines, are accessible, compassionate, and effective. Her message is powerful, and if you allow it, will change your whole life. Order your copy of Being Love today at beinglovebook.com and receive over 45 transformational gifts. Being Love is brought to you by Inspired Living Publishing.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth Radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Hey, America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy. And today I am joined by Pamela Henry, who we are talking about what I think so many women go through. And before commercial break, you said something, Pamela. You said at that point in your life, you were hiding behind a computer, and I energetically felt like she was hiding. she was hiding because she didn't want to step out. So it was easy to hide behind the computer pretending you were someone else, as you shared with using avatars. What was your cosmic 2x4? Because I believe, like you, so many of us, we get the flicks, right? We get the what I call God flicks, or you can call them universe flicks, the little signs from the universe along our life path that says, hey, I'm trying to redirect you. Are you paying attention? But for women like me who are slow learners back then, I waited for the cosmic 2x4. So how did it work for you? What was your moment when you knew that you were meant to do something else and you were tired of hiding out?
That moment, Linda, came hot off the heels of the affiliate marketing venture because I was stepping into midlife. I was disappointed, frustrated, depressed. I felt too old, too overweight, too tired, and by this point really felt like my best years and dreams were all behind me. The other thing was that I knew that pursuing anything meaningful or anything at all really meant I had to get visible. And the thought of being visible was just too painful at that point. I knew I couldn't continue like I was, but I had no idea where to turn because self-help at that point, I knew nothing about it. I knew nothing about personal development. I'd always relied on myself to pick up the pieces and move forward. So that was my cosmic 2x4 with I can't get any worse than this. I want something better. I know there's something better. And at that time, I'm blessed with an amazing partner. And he at that time and still to this day is so committed to helping me on my journey. And in fact, it was through his research that he found the first program that would get me on my path. And it was a program on retraining your brain for success. And it really was the perfect entry point for me because it was just woo-woo enough. It was still very, it aligned more with my sense of I've got to know how this works in reality because I wasn't open yet to experiencing the energetics of it. So I completed this course, but I didn't experience the results I was looking for. I was looking for that quick fix. Okay, just fix me.
Yeah, like everyone is. That's another issue and another topic. But but it's beautiful that you recognized it. You were like, okay, this didn't work. Did you want to jump on to the next thing?
Well, what was really cool about this is that the course, although it didn't work, there were two huge gifts in it. And the thing, first of all, that didn't work, and I want to share this, I think it's really important when you're beginning your journey. We talk a lot about affirmations and visualization in getting into the feeling place of creating our best life. But when you're first starting on your journey and you're exploring that, it can feel like a big fat lie because you are still operating from your limited belief systems and they get in the way. They block you from being able to embrace the truth, the affirmations and visualizations that you're creating. So that's what happened to me. I felt like I was lying to myself. But the awesome thing was that I did begin to experience how great it was to imagine the life that I really wanted. It's just that the energy didn't align with how I felt about myself at that point. So the two important things that came were the course planted new ideas and got me thinking about possibilities, what my ideal life could look like. Secondly, almost more importantly than that, was I was introduced to the world of telesummits. And that really changed the game for me because telesummits are brilliant. I mean, you know this, Linda. You've created telesummits. You participate in them. It's the perfect place to learn and ask questions when you're seeking change and don't know where to begin.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's not like 25 years ago when I was on the path where I would have to go to the library, try to find a book, the old-fashioned paper book. Now, the help we need, the guidance we need, the support we need is a click away, right? And the telesummit was exactly that. It was like, you could find the teachers and guides and coaches to help you on that next part of the journey. So is that what you did? You started tuning into telesummits and and connecting with the knowledge that you needed to get to the next stage?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I did. For months and months, I immersed myself. I immersed myself in inspiring teachers and healers. I took courses. I even learned several healing modalities. I had private sessions that helped me explore who I am and what I'm here to do. And over time, I began to see myself as worthy and good enough and so many other things. And began to understand that I am unique and that I'm here to share, as we all are, our unique gifts, talents, and abilities. And that was a huge part for me because it meant recreating myself essentially and seeing myself differently than I had my entire life. And embracing new points of view and new ways of being in the world that weren't always comfortable for me or the people who knew me to be a certain way. You know, I often think about Wayne Dyer. He used to quote Abraham Maslow, and he said, "Be independent of the good opinion of other people." And that just resonates so deeply with me, and I just can't emphasize it enough because it takes courage, and it can be one of the most difficult things to step into more of ourselves when we're no longer who we've defined ourselves to be. I mean, think about walking the earth defined by a certain personality or certain personality traits your entire life. And as that changes, it can be confusing, not only to yourself, but to everyone around you. That was a huge stepping up for me, was to realize, yeah, change means yes, change, right?
Exactly, but it's empowering. To me, I used to look at change, especially in my younger years, as, oh my God, it was my biggest fear was if anything in my life changed because, as you know, it was a control, safety issue, self-worth issue. Now I understand that change is a part of life, and I'm empowered enough to know that I can make my own choices about how I react to the change, because sometimes change comes at us outside of ourselves that we can't control, illness, loss of a family, but we can control how we handle it. So what I'm hearing with you is you learn to rewrite your story. The deeper you dove into your own healing journey, you began rewriting your story, and self-worth story especially is the big message I'm hearing with you, is that you recognize you had an old script playing for many years, but now you've owned your worth, and in doing so, you're able to serve even more people.
Absolutely. It is, and it is really a deep dive. And it starts with, it just starts with starting. It's as simple as that. Take one step. And I just want to, what this makes me think of is the telesummits. And when I did start that, is that listening to so many people on that platform, is that you also start to trust your intuition, because you're going to be drawn to some people and not others.
Exactly.
And that is, and that's such an important thing to pay attention to, right? It's really important to acknowledge that you do have that knowing of what you need.
Yeah, so and like that book that you picked up but you didn't read for many years, that was another sign, because I had that same experience. I remember buying, I'm going back 20 years maybe, A Course in Miracles, and I remember opening it, going, oh my God, I don't get this, and I put it down. 15 years later, I pick it up, and I absorbed every word, sentence, paragraph. I wasn't ready for it when it first appeared in my life. It was just letting me know when it appeared that I had some work to do. And and isn't it funny that 15 years later, I received it in a different way? Have you noticed those kind of things too?
Absolutely. Yes. You get the layers as you're ready to receive them.
Yeah, and it was such a powerful moment, because I remember going, oh my God, this book has been sitting there all those years. Why didn't I pick it up? Now I know the answer to that. I wasn't ready.
Yeah, it is. It's really, that's a really great point that you make. You can read something and receive that initial message, but there's so much more inherent in that. And you really do get it. The more you commit to yourself, and the more you learn and the more you grow, your spirit and your whole being, your energy opens up to receiving more. It's quite phenomenal. I never would have expected that when I began this just really 6 years ago. I could never have imagined what that would be like.
And it's such I'll speak from my truth, it's such an energetic opening. The moment I began loving myself and owning my worth and owning my value and seeing myself, really, it was actually seeing myself the way others saw me. Because I'm sure you used to get compliments on all your skill sets, your gifts, your uniqueness. But because of self-worth issues, you didn't allow them in. You didn't receive those compliments. Do you feel that energetic shift within you now that, yes, I do have unique gifts that make me amazingly brilliant at what I do? Because I think we all have that, but we have to own it.
We do, and that's one of receiving is a big piece, isn't it? It's receiving yourself, loving yourself, receiving those compliments. I mean, we all have these tremendous gifts, talents, and abilities, and receiving appreciation and gratitude and compliments is a wonderful, wonderful gift to receive. It's a wonderful gift to receive that. And we downplay, we diminish ourselves because of all those layered beliefs. They're not good enough, they're not worthy. So yes, absolutely, when those start to lift, it's okay to say, yes, this is who I am. These are gifts. These are God-given gifts I have, and embrace them. And you owe it to yourself to acknowledge your greatness. You really do.
Well, I believe we do, because when we do, that's when we step into the role that we're here to be in the world, right? Like, I may be my title may be best-selling publisher, but that's not who I am. That's the role and label I take on in the world, right? To be able to serve in my unique way. That's right. And I want to dive into this topic a little deeper when we come back from commercial break. This is Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy, and I'm chatting with Pamela Henry of PamelaHenry.com. We'll be right back with more inspiring conversation.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Do you love, accept, and respect the woman you see in the mirror? You are a goddess. But do you treat yourself as one in every area of your life? Are you taking care of you? Or are you last on your to-do list, if you're on it at all? It's time to take off the superwoman cape and awaken your inner goddess. Psychologist and body love expert Mary Pritchard is passionately dedicated to empowering today's women to heal their relationships with food, their body, and themselves, along with reconnecting with their inner goddess, stepping through perceived fears, and embracing the truth of who they are. Visit drmarypritchard.com to learn more about Dr. Mary's Body Love Group program, private coaching, sacred goddess circles, and to schedule a complimentary chat. drmarypritchard.com.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization. Their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Me, a cat, moving in with a new human. It took a little getting used to. She has these weird games she likes to play, like this giant feather. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. It's almost like she thinks I enjoy it. But seeing how much fun she gets out of it, well, I guess it makes it all worth it. Humans.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, this is host Linda Joy of Inspired Conversations, And I am so glad you joined us here on today's show. Today I'm talking with Pamela Henry of PamelaHenry.com, and before the break we were talking about really the art of receiving, the art of owning your truth and seeing your value. And Pamela, our stories have a lot of similarities because I struggled with self-worth issues, God, from most of my life, especially probably at least up until my 30s, which is then when I got on the path of personal and spiritual development, which I've been on for about 25 years now. And that was one of the most insidious layers to heal, right? Because self-worth and owning our value is like a multitude of layers. It's not like you do the work and totally you're done. It's like all of a sudden the next layer says, oh, remember me, this old story that comes up? Do you see that in your own journey as well as with the amazing woman you're blessed to work with?
I do. It always comes up. And that's part of moving forward. When you release, when you work on self-worth, for example, that happens at different layers and in different areas of your life. So the more you work on one area of your life and feel better about it, it impacts everything else. Then it may show up in another area, and you work on that, and then that impacts everything else. So you're constantly raising the vibration through working on different areas of your life and feeling better. But the layers are so deep, and as you said, insidious, that it does take commitment and time and courage to face those and allow them to surface so that you can acknowledge them for the limited belief they are. And then even more importantly than that is learn how to shift them so that you recognize them when they do come up, that you have the tools to shift that. And then that starts to become more second nature over time because you recognize when they're rearing their head.
Exactly. It's almost like you have, you become more aware. Like if I hear myself say something that's not at the highest vibration of how I want to show up in the world, an internal message to myself I'm talking about, I can now instantaneously catch it in the exact moment it happens. I usually say, cancel. Like, hey, Linda, you should have done 3 miles of walking instead of a mile. And in the past, I would have let that become a story, right? Of, oh, my God, you only walked 3 times. And the story would continue for the next hour. Now I can catch it, as I shared, instantaneously because the more inner work you do, the more aware you become. Change happens with awareness.
Absolutely, awareness. And I love that. Catching it in the moment. I say cancel, clear, delete.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I always picture this big red X, and my honey, I don't know if you ever do this. I sometimes do it out loud. I'll be driving with him, and a thought comes, and I'm like, cancel. He goes, okay, baby. He's been with me 20 years. He's used to it. But I'm visual, so I picture the giant red X, and I sometimes believe, I can't say it out loud all the time, depending on where I am, but I believe that when you state it out loud, it's even more powerful.
Absolutely, and with conviction and power.
Oh yeah, he still likes to bust my chops when I do that. But I love that we have that similar that you use. Tell me yours again.
Cancel, clear, delete.
Oh, that's so funny. And one of the inspired conversations I had with a guest, Alex Brady, she used the term reboot, like she gets her clients to reboot their way of thinking. So it's funny that a lot of us are using computer analogy, even though we didn't realize that we're using computer analogy.
Well, I guess that's something we can all understand very clearly these days. Yeah.
Exactly. So
yeah.
As this path unfolded for you and you kept following the divine, I call them divine nudges, intuitive hunches, and you just kept taking the next inspired step. Am I hearing correctly that every time, you might not have known where you were heading, you just said, this is the next right step, this is the next right step, and you kept learning to trust?
Yes, I did, and that's exactly what it was like. It was an unfolding. One one course or one summit would lead to some new information or private session. And what happened, I've been taking courses, attending workshops, and having the private sessions for a couple of years. And then after attending a weekend workshop, I arrived home on the last evening feeling really connected and inspired. This was a big turning point for me. For some reason, I sat down to write, which is something I hadn't done in many years. And words and melodies started flowing effortlessly onto the page. And even when I'd been writing songs 20 years previously, it was never that easy. So I tapped into something magical that night, and I learned that getting out of my own way and trusting my true self is when my creativity flows. And it started showing up in the form of poetry, which I'd never written before or even thought about writing. And it always amazes me that when I go back and read something I wrote, I always know it was divinely inspired. Literally, sometimes I don't even remember writing it. It's just been so exciting to experience this gift showing up, something that I had no idea about. And
it's because you're open now, because as I shared in your intro, that's how I first virtually met you, was following the writing that you're talking about, following your posts on Facebook and just, liking, and just your words, your way of sharing your truth has always spoke to me. So isn't it funny that it just, the inspiration came after you had like a big breakthrough?
Yeah, it is. And here's the thing is that these gifts are there and they're just waiting to reveal themselves when you're ready to. And here we go back to talking about receiving. When you're open and ready to receive them, they show up gangbusters. And that's the magic that begins to show up when you learn to let go and trust. I love the acronym TRUST, to rely upon spirit totally.
Oh my God, I love that. I've never heard that.
Yeah, it's so powerful, and what a quick and awesome reminder, really, to just trust, just rely upon spirit totally. And that's what, when I start to get scattered or feel uncentered, that pulls me back.
Yeah, and because it's so powerful just saying the acronym and saying it all out. How can you not feel peaceful when you hear it?
Exactly. Yeah. And the other thing is with that, one of the questions that I've often asked myself is, what gifts, talents, and abilities do I have that I haven't even discovered yet?
Wait, say it again. Repeat it for our listeners.
What gifts, talents, and abilities do I have that I haven't even discovered yet? It's fun to think about.
It is fun to think about, because if you look back on your life, or if I look back on mine, like you said, look at your writing came to you with even more clarity than it used to. But it wasn't always that way. In other words, it unfolded for you. So all of us are constantly uncovering our sacred gifts. The more work we do, the more we can discover the gifts that we're here to use to serve the world.
Absolutely. And they all are just waiting to be discovered. It's a matter of us looking at those limited belief systems, looking into our heart, and really tapping into what it is that we love to do, because we all know what that is. Beyond the veil is, or behind the veil is, on the other side is everything just waiting for us. It's right there. So it's, what are you willing to do to allow that to show up for yourself, to allow that scrim to lift, or those layers of scrims to lift, because it's all there. It is. I never would have thought that, but I absolutely know beyond a shadow of a doubt that we all have those gifts, talents, and abilities that are just waiting for us to claim them.
So beautiful. Doesn't it feel good to even say that out loud? So for our listeners, tune into that energy, because you have that too. And you may say, who, me? I'm not creative, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. You have your own set of unique gifts. They're different from Pamela's, they're different from mine, but you have them. and they're waiting for you to do the inner work so that you can uncover them and let them shine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And shine, that is the word. And as you know, that's part of my language that I love to use is that word shine, because it really is about that. Because once you tap into what it is, your gifts, talents, abilities, those things that are unique and special to you that you're here to bring forth, you do shine. It's inherent. It just becomes natural.
It's so true. And one of the things I've discovered on my journey is what you said a few moments ago, is that you kept taking, you might not have known where you were going or what the end result was going to be, but you kept following the inspiration, like, okay, I'm meant to listen to this telesummit. I think it will be that guest that I listen to. And you just kept taking these baby steps, because that's such an important message I want to leave the listeners with. And I don't know if you ever hear this from your clients or your peers. Oh, my God, your story is so inspirational. I could never change my life the way you did, Linda. And I go, wait, do you think one day I just woke up and my life was magically what it is that you see today? No, I stepped on the path and kept taking baby steps, and sometimes I took 5 or 6 steps backwards, but I always kept taking baby steps and built up what we were just talking about a moment ago, trust muscles. I had to build my trust muscles so that I would learn to trust my decisions. So every time I took a baby step and it brought me closer to something that is either what I needed or what helped me, I started going, this idea of taking inspired action is bringing me closer to the life I want. I'm going to keep doing it. And my trust became so strong that now, and Pamela, you've been a part of a lot of my projects, you know that everything I do is born from inspiration. Yes, I'm a business owner, and I'm sure there's strategy there, but everything that I birthed, I have to receive as inspiration first. I trust completely that if I was given, in fact, all the books that you've been in with me were born of, this is the message that needs to go out, and wham, I receive, I birth, because I can trust now. Does that?
Yes.
And it's the same for you, because I remember when you first joined the Cultivating Joy Project, it was like, whoa, this is the next big step for you. Like, we all take steps towards our dreams, and now happen to be, that's when our paths really came together. And for you, it was, I remember you saying, this is it. This is my next step into what you talked about earlier in the show about visibility and being seen.
Absolutely. And the interesting thing about that is you had spoken earlier about how you had discovered me on Facebook and through some of the writing and images that I was creating. And it was the same for me when I discovered you as well. And it was through Twitter, and I was drawn to your energy and what you were doing. And so it was interesting.
Thank you for that. I don't know if you ever shared that, so thank you. I'm glad you felt my love energy.
Oh, absolutely. I always feel your love energy.
Aw. Well, let's jump to our last commercial break, and then we're going to come back for the last segment. This is host Linda Joy of Inspired Conversations. We'll be back in a moment with Pamela Henry of PamelaHenry.com.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Beautiful one, if you're living your life by default and feeling disempowered, disconnected, and disenchanted, it's time to tap into your goddess power and use that divine energy to create the magical life of your dreams. As part of the Goddess Lifestyle Alchemy program, Creatrix Lisa Marie Rosati guides you through the 12 aspects of your life while tapping into the archetypes, the 4 elements, the divine, and practical magic. By connecting to the divine and working with universal laws, your life suddenly shifts from going through the motions and struggles to seeing divine love and purpose in all aspects of your life. If you're ready to design your magical life, visit Lisa at goddesslifestyleplan.com for an abundance of supportive resources.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Hailing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Hailing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Hi, you're listening to Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy, and I am having a beautiful conversation with my guest today, Pamela Henry, and we have been talking about lots of delightful stuff, and as we ended the last break, we were talking about shining your light and stepping out and visibility, and how Pamela's done it. I've had to do it. I mean, I'm getting stretched constantly, and I no longer feel threatened by that, because sometimes in life we want things to stay the same and feel safe. I no longer want that for myself, because every time I'm stretched and every time I go through the pain, I have more light to shine so that I can serve my authors, in this case Pamela, and many others, my peers, my family, my friends. I want to just be a beacon of love. And that's what we're talking about, because one of your key elements with your clients is the word shine. Like, okay, come on, it's time to shine. So I love that you use that word to describe it, because that's what I see. I believe we're all here to shine.
Absolutely we are. Shining is what we do best when we do it. So absolutely. I was just in thinking about that, I was wondering, would it be okay to share one of those first poems?
Yes, we have a few moments. Yes, we have, because I think it's so important to share those inspiring words, because they've touched my life. So if you have one really handy right there, that would be perfect.
Yeah, and the reason that it comes to mind, Linda, is because this particular one, because it was one of the very first ones, but we were talking earlier about how messages reveal themselves when you're ready. And when I read this poem now, it has messages for me that I didn't get when it first came through. So I wanted to share that as an idea for your listeners, so that it's like how to be aware of what's going on with them, and how down the road they're going to see things that are happening now. They're going to see new messages being revealed through what they're doing now. So
I think it's a beautiful way to close out the show. Please, what's the name of it?
Okay, so this poem is called Heaven on Earth. Layers of truth begin to lift above the din. Do you know who you really are? Do you have a longing that words can't express? I close my eyes and I ponder, what is heaven on earth? I reach beyond the illusion, I catch a glimpse. How do I describe that which I have never seen? Where are the words to describe this blissful eternity? I release my scattered mind. Where is this new earth? The gate opens wide, bird songs and whale songs, crystal clear vibrations of love ripple through the universe, uniting those holding virtual hands. Soul families, connecting hearts through space and time, being at one with peace, being at one with light, being at one with love. It was here all along. This is heaven on earth. This is the new earth.
Oh, my God. So beautiful, Pamela. And I want everyone to sit with that because it's such a powerful message of what is waiting for you. And you said that's one of your first ones that you wrote as all this started flowing to you, because I've published in Inspire magazine and on the blog I've published some of your other beautiful poems, and that is why I started following Pamela on Facebook, because of the sacred messages that are underneath her words. And thank you, beautiful, for blessing us with that. I think it's a beautiful way to tie everything together that we've been talking about today. And I want to take a moment to invite everyone to visit PamelaHenry.com to learn more about Pamela's work, her coaching programs, and also to read even more of her inspirational poetry, because I'll tell you, it gives your heart a lift, because it's what I just said. It feels like sacred truth. It feels like it's written from this place of, spiritual wisdom is what comes to mind. So thank you again, Pamela. Thank you, too, for being here. I'm excited to be sharing another sacred soul story of yours in the upcoming Inspiration for Women's Soul Opening to Gratitude and Grace, which is coming out in August, and as well as other projects that you're part of. It's such an honor to always spend time with you and be in your sacred energy.
Thank you so much, Linda, for having me. It's been such a joy. I always love my time with you. Thank you so much for all the inspiration and support. Love you so much.
Oh, you too. And I want to thank you, everyone, for joining me for Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy. Listen in every Tuesday at 2 p.m. for more conversations with visionary women just like Pamela, who are here to share their feminine wisdom to support you in living your best life. For even more inspiration, claim your free subscription to Aspire magazine, which includes over 40 transformational gifts. And you can do so at subscribe-to-aspire.com. Until next time, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.